Every password you've ever created could be cracked in the next decade. Every bank account, government file, or private message potentially vulnerable. The encryption we rely on today may not survive the quantum computers of tomorrow. But a new solution is quietly emerging, one that doesn't rely on codes or math. It uses the laws of physics themselves. This is the promise of the quantum internet, a network that could transform how we secure, verify, and trust information. Welcome to Relaxing Facts Studio. Today, we explore how this technology works, why it matters, and what it could mean for the future of communication and security. Every message you send today, whether it's a bank transfer, a video stream, or a private email, travels as classical data. The modern internet is built on bits, zeros and ones encoded as electrical, optical, or radio signals. These bits move through routers and servers using well-defined routing protocols, hopping across cables and data centers until they reach their destination. Speed improvements come from better hardware, faster fiber, and smarter compression. But the logic of transmission itself has not changed in decades. The quantum internet approaches communication from a fundamentally different angle. Instead of sending information as data packets, it relies on quantum states, such as the polarization or phase of individual particles. These states are not copied, amplified, or routed in the traditional sense. They are prepared, shared, and measured according to the rules of quantum physics, where observation itself affects the outcome. This makes quantum networks less about moving data faster and more about establishing provable relationships between distant systems. Crucially, the quantum internet is not a replacement for today's internet. Classical networks are still far better at transporting large volumes of information efficiently. Quantum links are designed to run alongside existing infrastructure, adding new capabilities, especially for secure communication and verification, without disrupting current services. In practice, a future application might use the classical internet to send data, while a quantum channel ensures that the connection itself can be trusted. This highlights the most important distinction. The quantum internet is not about speed. It does not promise instant downloads or reduced latency for everyday users. Instead, it introduces new functions, such as detecting interference, guaranteeing key integrity, and redefining how trust is established online. Understanding this difference is essential to separating realistic innovation from exaggerated expectations. For decades, digital security has relied on a quiet assumption. Attackers simply don't have enough computing power. Traditional encryption protects data by using complex mathematical problems that are extremely time-consuming to solve. Breaking modern cryptography isn't impossible in theory. It's just computationally impractical with today's machines. As long as the math stays hard and computers stay limited, encrypted data remains secure. Quantum communication changes this assumption by shifting security away from mathematics and toward the laws of physics. Instead of depending on how long a calculation takes, it uses quantum states, whose behavior is directly affected by measurement. In a quantum system, observing a signal is not passive, it changes the signal itself. This means any attempt to intercept or copy quantum information introduces detectable disturbances, not because of software defenses, but because of how nature works. This is where physical law becomes a security feature. Quantum communication protocols are designed so that interference, whether from noise or intentional eavesdropping, alters the measurable properties of the system. Legitimate users can identify these changes immediately and respond by discarding compromised data. The result is not unbreakable encryption, but verifiable awareness of whether a communication channel has been disturbed. Importantly, this approach does not reinvent how messages are sent across the Internet. Classical data still travels through standard networks using conventional infrastructure. Quantum communication is typically used to establish or protect security parameters, such as encryption keys, rather than transmitting entire files. What changes is how security is evaluated. Instead of asking, "Is this mathematically hard to break?" the question becomes, "Has the system been physically interfered with?" This shift represents a new mindset in cybersecurity, one that prioritizes detection and assurance over secrecy alone, offering a fundamentally different layer of trust for future digital communication. Two particles can be separated by miles, yet still behave as if they are part of a single system. This is quantum entanglement, and while it sounds like science fiction, it is a measurable laboratory phenomenon with growing relevance to future communication networks. In controlled experiments, entangled particles share linked properties, meaning the result of measuring one immediately constrains the outcome of measuring the other, without sending a signal between them. In network terms, entanglement is often misunderstood as a way to transmit information instantly. In reality, no data travels through entanglement itself. It does not carry messages, files, or signals. Instead, entanglement creates extremely strong correlations between distant systems. These correlations can be verified and tested, making them valuable for confirming whether two network nodes are synchronized, trusted, or uncompromised. This capability enables entirely new communication protocols. By combining entangled states with classical channels, networks can perform tasks such as secure key generation, state verification, and coordinated measurements that are impossible using classical systems alone. The classical Internet still handles data transfer, while entanglement adds a layer of shared physical context that strengthens security and coordination. However, entanglement is also fragile. In real-world conditions, environmental noise, temperature fluctuations, and signal loss quickly disrupt quantum states. Maintaining entanglement over long distances requires precise equipment, isolation, and often intermediate systems designed to restore correlations. This makes scaling quantum networks far more challenging than expanding fiber or wireless coverage. Understanding these limits is critical. Entanglement is powerful, but not magical. It offers new capabilities, not unlimited reach. Its true value lies in enabling trust, verification, and coordination at the physical level, features that could redefine how future networks think about security rather than how fast they move information.
Every secure digital conversation begins with a quiet but critical step: sharing an encryption key. In classical networks, these keys are exchanged using mathematical protocols that assume attackers cannot solve certain problems fast enough. While effective today, this method is built on probability and trust in computational limits, not on guaranteed detection of interference. Quantum key distribution introduces a different model. Instead of relying on complex math alone, QKD uses quantum measurements to establish encryption keys between two parties. Individual quantum states are prepared, transmitted, and measured in ways that make copying or observing them physically disruptive. If interference occurs, it is not hidden. It changes the measurable outcomes. The key can then be discarded before it is ever used. This is why governments and defense organizations are investing heavily in QKD. For military, diplomatic, and intelligence systems, key security matters more than speed or convenience. Even a small risk of undetected interception is unacceptable when data must remain secure for decades. QKD provides a method to verify whether a communication channel has been compromised at the moment keys are exchanged, offering long-term confidence rather than short-term performance. However, not all QKD systems are the same. Experimental setups often operate over limited distances using specialized hardware in tightly controlled environments. These laboratory demonstrations prove the physics, but are not designed for widespread deployment. Commercial QKD, by contrast, focuses on stability, integration with existing fiber networks, and cost efficiency. It must operate reliably outside the lab, alongside classical infrastructure. Understanding this distinction is essential. QKD is not a universal solution for all cybersecurity challenges. It is a specialized tool aimed at protecting the most sensitive connections, where certainty about key integrity outweighs bandwidth, scalability, or consumer-level convenience.
A powerful enough quantum computer would not need to hack today's encryption. It could mathematically outgrow it. Many widely used security standards rely on problems that are extremely hard for classical computers, but potentially manageable for future quantum systems. This has raised serious concerns across banking, cloud security, and national infrastructure about how long current protections will remain reliable. In response, two distinct strategies have emerged. Post-quantum cryptography focuses on designing new mathematical algorithms that remain secure even against quantum computers. These solutions run on classical hardware and can be deployed through software updates, making them practical and scalable. Quantum communication, by contrast, does not replace encryption algorithms at all. Instead, it changes how sensitive security elements, such as encryption keys, are established and verified using physical processes. This distinction matters for long-term planning. Quantum Internet technologies fit into cybersecurity as infrastructure-level defenses, not general-purpose fixes. They are most valuable in scenarios where detection of interference is critical and where data must remain confidential for many years. Governments and financial institutions view quantum networking as a way to add an additional layer of assurance rather than as a replacement for existing security frameworks. Crucially, no serious expert treats quantum networking as a universal solution. It does not protect stored data retroactively. It does not secure every application, and it does not eliminate the need for strong software-based encryption. Instead, it complements broader strategies that include post-quantum algorithms, hardware security modules, and network monitoring. The key takeaway is realism. The quantum internet may help protect specific communication links in a post-quantum world, but security will remain a layered system. Success will depend on combining physics-based tools with adaptable cryptographic standards, not on relying on a single breakthrough technology.
A single vibration, a slight temperature shift, or stray electromagnetic noise can collapse a quantum state. This extreme sensitivity is the core reason the quantum internet remains difficult to scale. Unlike classical signals, quantum states cannot be amplified or copied to compensate for loss. Once disturbed, the information they carry is permanently altered, limiting how far reliable quantum communication can extend. Distance makes the problem harder. In classical networks, repeaters boost weakened signals without changing their content. Quantum networks cannot do this. Quantum repeaters must preserve fragile states while extending their reach, often by storing, synchronizing, and re-entangling particles with extreme precision. Designing devices that perform these steps reliably, at scale, and outside laboratory conditions is one of the field's biggest engineering challenges. Environmental noise further restricts real-world deployment. Fiber imperfections, thermal fluctuations, and background radiation introduce errors that accumulate rapidly over long distances. Even in controlled settings, maintaining stability requires specialized equipment and constant calibration. These constraints make widespread coverage far more complex than expanding conventional internet infrastructure. Error correction adds another layer of difficulty. Classical systems detect and fix errors by copying and comparing data. Quantum systems cannot rely on this approach because observing a quantum state alters it. Quantum error correction must instead distribute information across multiple correlated states, increasing hardware complexity and resource demands. This makes quantum networking expensive and technically demanding, even before considering large-scale deployment. Together, these challenges explain why progress is measured in reliability and stability, not speed or consumer access. The quantum internet is advancing, but cautiously. Each breakthrough focuses on preserving coherence, reducing noise, and improving error tolerance. Until these physical and engineering limits are addressed, quantum networks will remain specialized systems, powerful in capability, yet constrained in reach and practicality. Short, carefully controlled quantum links already exist, but they look nothing like a global internet. Today's quantum networks operate at small scale, often connecting a handful of nodes within research campuses or between nearby facilities. These systems demonstrate that quantum communication works under real conditions, not just theory, but they remain tightly managed and purpose-built. Universities, government agencies, and private laboratories lead most current experiments. Researchers test quantum communication over optical fiber and free space links, focusing on stability, synchronization, and error detection. These trials are less about speed and more about consistency. Can quantum states be prepared, transmitted, and measured reliably over time?
Each experiment helps refine hardware, protocols, and environmental controls necessary for practical use. It's important to distinguish experimental success from deployable infrastructure. A laboratory network proving secure key exchange over a limited distance does not translate directly into national or global coverage. Scaling up requires standardized components, automated calibration, and integration with existing telecom systems. These steps involve engineering, manufacturing, and cost challenges that extend far beyond physics demonstrations. This is why progress is measured differently than in classical networking. Coverage maps and bandwidth statistics are not the main milestones. Instead, researchers track uptime, error rates, and long-term stability. A quantum link that works flawlessly for months is more valuable than one that briefly spans a longer distance under ideal conditions. The takeaway is realistic optimism. The quantum internet is not decades away in theory, but it is years of careful engineering away in practice. Current experiments show steady, verifiable progress, yet also highlight why patience matters. Building trust at the physical level takes time, and that trust is exactly what future quantum networks are designed to deliver. In banking and finance, a single compromised transaction can cost millions and erode public trust. That's why financial systems prioritize data integrity and long-term security over speed alone. The quantum internet offers a revolutionary approach. By establishing encryption keys and verification methods tied to the laws of physics, institutions could detect interference or tampering in real time, reducing the risk of fraud or undetected breaches. This level of assurance could redefine how sensitive financial operations are secured globally. In national defense and intelligence, secure communication is not optional, it is critical. Military coordination, satellite links, and strategic planning all rely on trusted channels. Quantum networks allow governments to detect eavesdropping attempts at the physical level, providing a layer of confidence that classical encryption cannot guarantee. Even short quantum links between command centers or research facilities could improve operational security dramatically. Beyond finance and defense, identity verification and authentication could be transformed. Traditional methods rely on passwords or tokens, which are vulnerable to theft or duplication. Quantum communication enables protocols that verify identities based on quantum correlations, making authentication fundamentally more resistant to interception or forgery. Adoption, however, will begin where stakes are highest. Governments, banks, and multinational corporations are likely to implement quantum networking first, integrating it into critical systems before consumer applications. Widespread public use will take longer due to cost, technical complexity, and infrastructure requirements. The key takeaway is that the quantum internet is less about everyday speed upgrades and more about redefining trust. For institutions that handle high-value data, it provides unprecedented assurance, shifting the focus from preventing attacks through mathematics to detecting them through physics. In a connected world, this could reshape cybersecurity, finance, and national defense for decades to come. Quantum theory fundamentally changes information itself. In classical systems, data is static, copied, stored, transmitted freely. In quantum networks, observing a state changes it. Information becomes interactive and dynamic, challenging traditional assumptions about storage and transmission. Quantum networks verify messages at the physical level. Unlike classical encryption that says this code is hard to break, quantum systems prove this channel has not been observed. Security shifts from prevention to detection and observability. Trust becomes intrinsic, not assumed. This creates philosophical challenges. Data ownership transforms into data observability, where control, transparency, and verification coexist. Consider quantum-secured medical records. They can't be copied without detection, can't be altered without evidence, and reveal any unauthorized access instantly. Privacy becomes physics enforced, not just policy enforced. Regulators face unprecedented questions. How do we govern data that can't be duplicated? How do we audit systems where measurement changes outcomes? Current frameworks built for copyable, static information may not apply. The quantum internet isn't a faster network. It's a new paradigm for thinking about information, trust, and digital accountability in an interconnected world.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of the quantum internet. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss future episodes that explore the cutting edge of science and technology. Share this video on your social media to let your friends discover these insights. Give it a like to help the video reach more curious minds. And leave a comment to tell us what you think or which ideas sparked your curiosity. Your support is what allows Relaxing Facts Studio to grow, continue creating high-quality content, and bring more amazing knowledge to viewers like you.